Hi and welcome back to my channel Lady T, and today I'm going to tell you about my top 10 books that I read this year in 2018. This is the final day of the year, so you may hear some fireworks going off in the background, but let's not, or my cat who is apparently trying to get into a box. Okay, I might have to fix that. And my dog is probably going to join us too. And don't mind the mess on the floor, I've been redecorating my house a bit, so there are still some things laying around. And I really need to help my cat get in the box. Wait a second. Okay, so now that that is fixed, I first want to give you a little tour of my bookshelf, because I thought it would be fun. As I was redecorating, I actually kind of changed how I've displayed my books, so I kind of want to show you that. So let's just start at the top shelf if I fix this too. Starting off over here, we have, as you can see, a lot of Dan Brown books. I still haven't read a single one, and I know that's a shame and it's a sin, but I will eventually get to it. And I also have some books here of Mario reading. I've also never read his books, but they were for sale not in a bookstore but just a simple store, so I thought I would pick it up. The books of Anne Rice of The Diary of a Vampire is among here, that one. And I don't really like the books in Dutch, but it was enough for me to read the full series. And actually I want that to go over there because it fits better. There we go, now I'm a happy girl. Here we have some bookazines. I have talked about this one a lot, The Boy in the Wooden Box. I've done a book review on it, so I'm not going to talk too much about the books. There are some school notebooks over here, some fairy tales of Andersen and of Grimm, some children's stories because I like to collect those, and here are some really old books that I found in a second-hand shop, like Anton Pieck, The World of Anton Pieck. That's, if I'm correct, that's a Dutch illustrator, an artist, so I kind of like having that. Black Beauty, of course, The Jungle Book. This one I found, The Adventures of Holly Hobbie, which is very fun. I really enjoyed reading it. And of course, The Big Friendly Giant, more stories of Roald Dahl. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. And this one, I forgot what it is called in English, but it's the story about, they actually made a series for it on Netflix right now with all the bunnies. So that's one is that. Here we have some more notebooks, some for my writing, not for school, just some fancy little things I really love. Here we have some Nikki French and some PJ Tracy, who is a duo, just like Nikki French. PJ Tracy is, I believe, a mother and a daughter writing together. And I've only read this one. No, I've read them, I don't know, I have to check on Goodreads. I have no idea, I don't remember. And here we have some Harry Potter books. I don't have the full series, but I have read every single book when I was still at the library. We have some other books from the Harry Potter universe. We have the screenplay, which I hated, and then we have some books over here have to do with religion and philosophy of life, which I just really enjoy reading from time to time. And I have some books to learn how to draw, which I used to do when I was a lot younger. And then over here we have some more books about religion. We have the Quran. We have what do you call that in English? I will just put it on the screen. And we have the Bible. We have spiritual symbols, more fairy tales and religious stories over here. Here there are actually some history books and some books about Churchill, which I really enjoy. These books are... There's a book from Stephen Hawking, The rest of the books are for my study social work, which I'm currently taking. And here are some more books about Churchill. Here, and I know this is going to sound funny in English especially, but this is a series of a detective called The Cock, and his partner is called Dick Flatter. So I won't censor it because these are the names of the characters and I can't really help it. It's not my fault. I'm really enjoying that series. I was introduced to it by my stepfather and I just really love it. It is the same story over and over again. He kind of uses the same template for each and every story, but I still enjoy it. I don't know why. And there are some stories which I was required to read when I was studying English. I stopped after a month, but I still have the books. And the first book of a series of unfortunate events are my diaries. Oh, and there's where I left that book. Ha! I found it. And over here, down here, there are some books that don't really fit into anything particular, not a particular subject that I want to feature in. So they are just kind of there at the bottom. Right now, by the way, the story I'm reading is Aristotle and Dante Discovering the Universe, The Secrets of the Universe. I'm really enjoying that book. I started last night and I just kept reading it for 3 hours, so yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. Now we are on the other side of my bookshelf, and over here we have some Animal Crossing merchandise, all the amiibos, I'm proud to say. So that is very cool. It took me a long time, and Professor Layton is just chilling on top. And then we go over here. There are a lot of Disney books. Like some really old school, some newer. And I got them, most of them, from the second-hand shop. Like, let me look one up actually. Like, this one is really old. Goofy and the Magic Fish. So yeah, some were our first published, or the first publication, so that is very cool to me. And of course I as a Tolkien fan have a lot of books from Tolkien himself and about Tolkien. So yeah. And my favorite story of him is actually Tree and Leaf, which is over here. It's still marked because I absolutely love it. And I got a necklace from the braid of Warren's hair. But I think I've lost it because I haven't seen it for quite some time. Then we have Attack on Titan. Here some Doctor Who books, which I showed in yesterday's video. And the whole Skullduggery Pleasant series. He is actually working on the 12th book already. And I really hope that this is going to be out as soon as possible. And over here we have some Penguin classics. Like Dracula, Moby Dick, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 12 Years a Slave, The Snow Leopard, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, The Crucible, The Secret Garden, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Howl's Moving Castle, Sherlock Holmes, all that kind of good stuff. I really enjoy just finding these in second-hand shops. Just look at this gorgeous series. And these were the books, the fancy books I was telling you about, because they have like golden pages, which is so awesome. And here we have a series of Detoft, Wolfling. I enjoyed those when I was younger. There are 3 books, I believe. Then we have Pinkeltje. I'm not sure if there is an English version of that, but it is about a little man who, he's not, I don't think he's a leprechaun. Maybe he is. But yeah, so that's the thing. And I really enjoyed those series when I was younger. So I also found those at the second-hand shop and I thought, well, why not get them? Then we go to the final books. Oh no, that's not true, I'm lying. And these are some of my favorite books down here. This is like my favorite corner. which is, I haven't read the Jane Hawking book yet, but I really love reading about his life, so that's why it's already down here. The Black Book of Secrets is one of my all-time favorite books, just like A Heart of Stone from Renate Dorrestein, who passed away this year or last year, I believe. She is a Dutch author, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have The Memoirs of an Imaginary Friend from Matthew Green, which is easily in my top 5 books. I love it. The new book that I picked up, The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Left, most amazing book ever. And Ink Death and Web of Ink. I'm missing one book, I have read the other one, which is easily my favorite book of all time. Then we go over here to the Jonathan Stroud books of Lockwood and Co. I absolutely adore that series. The 5th book is the final book, and at part 4, I believe, I got kind of bored of the series, but now I'm really sad that it ended. But I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. And here we have Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I know that I may not be the demographic for this series, but I'm really enjoying it. Well, I haven't really been enjoying the last 3 books, I believe. 2 or 3 books, but I still enjoy them. But I don't enjoy them as much as I did in the beginning. Then this series, I'm trying to get them all, because I read them while I was very young and I found them in the library. But now I'm trying to find them and collect them from Garth Nix. Then we have James Clemens, Forbidden and Banned. I think will be called in English, but that is what it's called in Dutch. And here we have the Del Toro series, which was also something from my childhood, which I enjoyed incredibly much. Memoirs of a Mighty McCourage, or something like that. I don't know what it's called in English. And then we have the Percy Jackson, the first 2 books. I still have to read the second one, so yeah. And the collector's album, of course, for Animal Crossing. And I said that those were the last books, but I actually have some more books down in my basement, which we're not going to go down to my basement because they're still in boxes. But I also have, I will just give you a quick look, I have some books over here as well. I don't have any more shelves, so that's why they're on the ground. So you can hate me all you want, but that's where they're going to stay for now. The Map of Middle Earth, of course. A Little Christmas Dog. And then over here we have more books. Just more books. These are the kind of books that I don't want on my shelf just yet, because I'm not sure whether I'm going to like them or not. And some just because I don't have room just yet. So yeah. So hi, and now I'm going to tell you about the top 10 books that I read in 2018. Now on the final day of this actual year. There's only one book that I don't currently have in my possession, because I've given it to one of my teachers at school to read, and that is actually pretty high up the list. So let's just start by number 10. And number 10 is Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast from Oscar Wilde. I talked about this in my video yesterday. It is just full of wit, and that is why I absolutely adore this little book. There are just so many things that I have written down that are just genius. I will post some of them on Twitter tonight. Yeah, this was just, it isn't that high up on the list because it isn't a story, it is just some sentences, some things from his books, I think, and they are very clever, but they aren't a full story, so that's why I didn't put it up that high on the list, but I really enjoyed this one. On number 9 is Howl's Moving Castle from Diana Wynne-Jones. I read this somewhere at the beginning of this year, and I didn't think I would like it that much, and at the beginning I didn't really. I thought it was kind of slow, and at some point, spoilers, you kind of know that they are going to wind up together, but the ending was just so... I didn't see it coming in the way it happened. So that's why I absolutely loved it, and I will definitely reread it again. I had a great time reading it. It was some kind of an adventure, especially near the end. I didn't really care for the beginning too much, but I will definitely recommend this and reread it again with joy. And number 8 on my list is one of my all-time favorite series. I got back into reading it last year, and the new book came out this year. And this is the first time that I got to be excited with other fans of the series that the new book was coming. And luckily this author communicates a lot through Twitter, so the excitement was just sparks everywhere and all the time. It was Midnight from Skullduggery Pleasant. And the reason that, even though it is one of my favorite series, and the reason why it's not higher up on this list is because there's another book of the series that I only read this year that I fully enjoyed and that I absolutely loved, and that just got me giddy from the beginning to the end. And Midnight, I always enjoy these books, but it didn't really pick me up until... No, I think the beginning I really loved, but then somewhere middle I always grow a little tired and I want things to happen a little bit more fast, while at the same time everything is already moving quite fast. So I really enjoyed it for what it was, and I really hope, and I don't think it will, that Valkyrie Kane will finally catch a break in the next book, but we all know that she's just going to get more trouble into her life as per usual. And then, number 7 on my list is actual Hamlet. This was, I think, the first book I read this year, and the reason why I have it on number 7 is because I was, as I said in my review, I was a little scared of actually reading it, because I was afraid that I wasn't going to get it, but I absolutely loved it, and that's why it's so high up on this list actually. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a great book. I still look at it fondly, so number 7. Number 6 is also a book that I talked about in one of my reviews, was The Boy on the Wooden Box. The story about the boy who, Leon Layson, who was moved to, oh now I forget, why do I forget those things, to Poland. No, he went from Poland to... I don't remember. It was quite some time ago, but this takes place. It is a real life story. Leon actually went through this, and it happened all during World War II. So that's why it was very impactful, and I still remember it. And I actually found Schindler's List, which isn't made from this book, but it's about a man who saved Leon. So I'm going to watch that on Netflix probably tonight. And yeah, I really recommend, if you're going to pick up anything, any book that you want to read next year, then really put this on your to-read list. Then the book that I don't have in my possession, because one of my teachers has it, is The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. I got it this year for my birthday from my mom's girlfriend, and she said this has been some kind of Bible to me, and it has been very important. And when I started reading it, I was filled with excitement, because I was like, I want to get that same experience. But then the first couple of pages, no, the first 3/4 of the book, I was like, where is the excitement? I'm waiting for something to happen, inside me, but nothing is coming. So at some point I was just like, well, it's not that big of a book, I'm just going to read through it and that's it. Then I can put it on my read list for this year. It will help me towards my goal, and then that's it. But then at the end there were some sentences that really resonated within me and that I actually wrote down, and now I absolutely love the book, because at some point I started to understand why things were happening in the book as they were happening, and just overall the theme now started to make sense to me near the end. And I absolutely loved that the book was able to have me go through such an emotion. It was very powerful, it was very strong, so I highly recommend that you read it. And then on number 4 is a book that I read when I was a little child, but I didn't fully read it, I think, so I picked it up a couple of years ago, and now it's one of my favorite stories. Around the World in 80 Days from Jules Verne. I sometimes forget to write this, but anyway, when I started reading this again, I fell in love with it all over again from the beginning of the page. The very first page, I was sold. It is just something about the description about Phileas Fogg that just, I don't know, I really hope that I'm going to find a man like that one day, and it's just so very exciting to read about these places that he visits and that he makes it in the end. And there is just something about the whole story, just like The Hobbit, going on an adventure and just taking chances, that really resonates with me and that I really identify myself with too. So I really enjoyed it, and it is one of my favorite books of all time. And to the final 3. On number 3 is... Normally, by the way, my dog and my cat come into the shop because they want to be a part of it, but now with the different setup in my house, my dog and my cat are actually sleeping on my couch all day long, and now they're just the audience. So thank you for that. But on the number 3 spot on my list is Scott Dockery Pleasant's Last Stand of That Man. It is the 7th book in the series, and the reason that I loved it is because normally in other Scott Dockery Pleasant books there is kind of a slow pace at some point, and I start to kind of get bored and I just want to get through it to the good part. But in this book that didn't happen for me. There was so much going on, and I was always thinking and keeping on my toes with Valkyrie and with Scott Dockery, and there were so many things that came to light that I just had never expected. It was just an absolutely genius book, and I absolutely loved it to go on the missions with the dead man. So I absolutely adore this book. This is the best book in the series, in my opinion. And then on the number 2 spot is Lockwood & Co., the final book, The Empty Grave. It is the 5th book in the series and the last one, and I actually cried when it ended. It is an open ending, and on one side I love that, it's genius, but on the other hand I really wanted him to tell us if the ghost comes back to Lucy and if they are going to end up together with Lockwood, but I don't know. I'm really happy with the way it ended, and in the 4th book and already a bit in the 3rd book I was starting to kind of wish it to end, because I don't know, because it started to get kind of boring, but then with new revelations it got interesting again, but I also wish that he wouldn't continue on for too long. And I think 5 books was perfect. There shouldn't have been another book. This was good, but I still have that empty spot after finishing this one, that just a realization hits you, like there's not going to be another Lockwood & Co. book. But I absolutely loved the series. I know, I really enjoyed it. Maybe, I don't know. I enjoyed it because there were so many things just clicking into place, and he finished it really well. And I cried when it ended, so that's... I actually wanted... For a second I thought about putting this on the number 1 spot, but then I saw another book on my Goodreads list that really deserved the number 1 spot. And that book is, of course, I've also done a review about this, The Crucible from Arthur Miller. This book, as I tell in my review video, I only read and picked up because of Richard Armitage, the actor, and he is amazing, and so I trust his opinion and his taste in books and in literature, and I wasn't disappointed. When I read this, it had been a very long time since I absolutely loved the book and I just couldn't put it down, and this book has done that for me. There is just something about the characters that made me feel irritated, but not in a way that I wanted to put the book down. I wanted to help them and I wanted to scream at them, but you can't because they're fictional characters, and it's very, very annoying at some points. But it's also the reactions of the people. If you think back to the time period they live in, it's very understandable, but such a shame of the decisions that were made back then. And this piece of literature is one of the best that I've read in my entire life, and I'm really, really happy that I have it on my shelf. So let me know, what were your favorite books that you read this year? Do you have goals for next year? Because if you remember, the first video I made this year was about me wanting to read 100 books this year. I didn't make it. I made it to 44 because at some point I just focused on other things, and I'm not actually disappointed in myself because I read a lot of good books, and it just makes me feel like I want to do better next year, because this is the lowest rate of books that I've ever read in the last 3 or 4 years. So I have to do better, and I want to do better, and I'm really feeling the urge to do that and to read again. So yeah, I'm finally very excited. I'm finally excited to do videos for YouTube again. So I'm going to be working really hard on that. But let me know what your favorite books were this year, and let me know if you have an amount of books that you want to read in 2019. I really hope you have a great and awesome New Year's Eve tonight, and that 2019 will treat you nicely and lovingly. Have a good year. Goodbye.